Welcome to the Voices of Healing podcast. I'm your host, Tina Clark, and today we have Dr. Jen here, and she is a chiropractor, and she's going to be sharing a story today of how she healed her son of ADHD with natural healing solutions. Welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tina. It's an honor to be here.
So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Jennifer. She's a chiropractor with over 23 years of experience, specializing in clinical nutrition and the use of supplements and medical grade essential oils. She is passionate about helping patients achieve optimal health while also empowering women to create additional income through home-based businesses. Dr. Shell's holistic approach to health and financial well-being has positively impacted countless families, inspiring others to achieve financial independence and embrace natural remedies. So you are the perfect fit for this podcast,
Yeah,
Jennifer.
thank you so much. I just want to bring value to your audience and help spread the word, right?
Yeah, so why don't you walk us into the situation with your son?
Sure.
When did you first realize that he
Yes.
had ADHD and
Yeah.
when and all of that? So
Oh, yeah. I'd love to. So I have two boys, and right now they're 17 and 14. And the little one just always as a little kid, it was like his mind was racing faster than sometimes he could keep up with. Like when he was really little, he was speaking in sentences like super young, but then he almost started stuttering for a little bit. And I was like, I think it's his brain can't process as fast, like to get the words out. So, anyways, he kind of grew out of that. And then we started school, like kindergarten. And he could not sit still, could not. And I mean, let's just take a second. Standardized testing, I'm not a fan of that anyways, but like he would always score poorly because he couldn't sit still to just read the questions and like answer them. Like that was just too overwhelming. So when he was about 6, I did get him diagnosed through a psychologist with ADHD. Um, and so at school, we had like accommodations. Can't remember if it's called a 504 or 501 plan. But anyways, we had that all through elementary school. And you know, we, as a natural doctor, like I was always, of course, like looking at diet, and he'd always avoided wheat. We found he had a wheat sensitivity. Different foods were an issue. So then you immediately know the integrity of his gut was not healthy. And that can be a big trigger for all sorts of mental stuff, not just like ADHD, but they've even linked, well, even specifically wheat. Have you heard about wheat being connected to like psychiatric disorders that mimic even schizophrenia, where it's literally from wheat? So there's great books on that, Grain Brain.
so is that from gluten, or because I have
Yeah.
a sneaking suspicion that our bread in
Oh,
this country has chemicals and pesticides that actually
yes.
that's what people are reacting to?
Yes, I 100% agree with you. Like Roundup has something called glyphosate. Glyphosate actually tears the junctions in our gut. So like we need that like as a solid wall, like everything is linked together, and glyphosate rips the junctions. So then we develop something called like leaky gut. And leaky gut is always associated with leaky brain. So, yeah, so there's another whole thing with bread in the States. So, back, I think it was around the 50s, but don't quote me there. we started actually adding extra gluten into our bread to make it really fluffy, like Wonder Bread. So now we've got this like hyper glutenized bread, plus the fact it's full of pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, like you're saying. And then a whole other factor with that is that we mass produce, right? So wheat, it gets harvested and then it's sitting in a silo on top of chlorine blocks to try to keep it from going rancid. But come on, like that's gonna go rancid, and then we're eating that. So yes, Tina, I 100% agree with you.
Well,
Glad to hear.
as I get older, I get more sensitive
Yeah,
to, I don't know what junk they're putting in our food, but
so much junk.
yeah, but like I can't even eat over the counter bread. Like
Yeah,
it gives me a stomach ache or heartburn or
yeah,
so we're down to like making our own bread now.
awesome.
And yeah, or if in a jam, we'll go to the bakery section
Yeah,
of the grocery store, but not in the not aisle bread. It's a
where
big
it's
no for
fresher.
me.
Have you tried making sourdough? I personally have not, but they even say that's supposed to break the gluten down. One of my patients said, have you
Yeah,
tried that?
I love sourdough. I haven't
Yeah.
tried it myself. My teenage daughter tried to do a starter, but
Good for her.
it didn't turn out. So I kind of intimidated.
Yeah, I know, me too. I'm sure it like takes like effort, right? It's like riding a bike. I'm sure you got to wear your training wheels for a while to get it going. But yeah, okay, so that's super valid. Yes, everything about wheat in the States is really upsetting, because it is so processed. And so many times I've had patients that go over to Italy in Europe and they have horrible gluten issues here. They eat it there and they're fine. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
So I'm thinking it's
obviously.
not the gluten. I think
Yeah.
it's the glyphosate and the
Yeah.
camel's
Yeah.
pills. Because whenever I leave the country, I realize how much the food is better elsewhere. Like
Yes.
even and I came back from Egypt in April, and the food
Yeah.
was fantastic
And you didn't
over
have
there.
stomach aches and you felt great. Like it's actually fueling you.
Yeah, actually, I was fine the whole time, but I must have ate something bad on the airplane
Right.
returning. So yeah, I did have stomach issues, but right when after I got back in the US, which is probably
Yeah.
ideal, you know.
Right. Get back home and just right back in the swing of things.
You're
Oh my
jet
gosh.
lag, you're ready to the
Yes.
bathroom.
Oh my gosh. Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. But there are some really good books like Grain Brain, Wheat Belly. Those are just really great educational about like how bad the wheat is. So yeah. So my little guy, he totally had wheat issues. He had some other like food sensitivities where we would pull the foods out, he'd be better. So obviously the gut. But so once the pandemic happened, that's when everything pivoted. And I hate to say this, but it's like I went to work, right? So I send him to school. He's at school, do your thing, whatever. Well, then pandemic happens and we're all at home. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be teaching him. So the story goes, he was 9. So he was 9 at the beginning of the pandemic. He's 14 now. And I'm sitting at his little laptop at the dining room and he's doing somersaults like around the dining room. And I'm like, Rowan James, you need to sit down and we need to get this work done. And he looked at me and goes, the reason I'm not being very good is because you're not very good at this. True, touche. I don't know what I'm doing. I am not a teacher. Oh my gosh. So instantly I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get control of this. So, like I said, we had kind of always worked diet, but right at that moment, like, we need to pull sugar out. We had a huge conversation, and he was really cognizant of sugar, but even just little things, right? So we had this discussion about sugar and how sugar really makes your blood sugar spike. So you're like on a roller coaster. You're going to go up and you're going to go down. So now sugar isn't always just blatant things. And especially being gluten free, one of the issues for him was carbs in the form of like bread. Gluten free bread, there's hardly any nutrients, there's very little fiber, like that is not a high quality food. So maybe we need to taper down the bread and eat more like wild rice, like whole food quinoa, even sweet potatoes. That's a great option. And for a little kid, potato at least it's got some nutrients in it, right? So instead of stuff like that. Then the other thing that we really started doing around blood sugar also was eating consciously every 2 to 3 hours. And in that block, we're putting a protein and a good fat. And, then you're going to have a little carb, right? But also, the key is always putting in the good things first. So, especially with kids, I'm just going to take this little roundabout here. But with my patients, I'm always teaching, listen, before dinner comes out, before snacks, before all this stuff, right when my kids get home, and I still do this a lot, I just set out a veggie tray, like tons of just raw vegetables, hummus, guacamole. I'll do like organic ranch because they love that, whatever. And the key with that is put the good things in first. They're starving. They're going to eat it. And then I tell them dinner's on its way, right? So at least if you load in the vegetables first, that's always my go-to. So anyways, we were doing that. We were working on what we were eating. Good fats would be like avocados, coconut oil, olive oil, like so salads with healthy dressings, you know, stuff like that. Guacamole, great. Then the other thing that we started doing is I had him ingesting an essential oil called wild orange. Now, I don't know how much you want to go into all that, Tina, but like certain brands, if it doesn't say safe to ingest, but it is something food based, which they all should be, then we need to be worried about what else is in it, right? So that's like a whole other topic where it's like you really need to know what's in your oils and the testing and the purity. But, anyways, wild orange, pure orange, is really uplifting for the mood. So, in his water, I was just putting like a drop, 2 drops a day just to help because he was sassy, as you could tell from his comment to me, right? And then the other thing we were doing is doTERRA, the brand that I work with and I like, just because I know testing wise, they have a blend called Adaptive. So that blend is really nice for helping with focus. So when I'm talking about helping my son with ADHD, I do need to be very clear. Like, I'm not actually saying that I cured him, but what I'm doing is helping him as a whole so that his body finds balance, homeostasis, right? So, anyways, so the oil, I started diffusing Adaptive. So I diffused it in the dining room. I diffused it in the kitchen. I was diffusing it in the family room. And everything went great. So for 3 days, he was getting his work done. We didn't have any issues. Oh, I also added a supplement called inositol. and I use a brand called Standard Process. My clinic, inositol, it's the little tablet, it's chewable, and that can help with focus and again, blood sugar. Okay, so he was chewing one of those with each meal. They taste great. So, anyways, everything went awesome. So I didn't say anything. And on the third day, he comes up to me, puts his little condescending hand on my shoulder, and goes, Mom, I have got to tell you, those oils that you've been diffusing, they've really helped you. You have not flown off the handle in 3 whole days. Like, so he was totally tracking me. And obviously, I didn't fly off the handle because he was getting his work done. But that's fine if he deflects it on me. Yeah, it works. I'm like, I know, aren't they great?
So
So that,
when he said you're not very good at this,
yeah,
do you think he was talking about
teaching.
teaching?
I
Okay.
can't. He was like, You're not patient. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, you know, yeah, I'm definitely not patient.
Yeah, and if you're not patient, you probably shouldn't be teaching.
Exactly. Amen to that, Tina. Agreed. Not my forte. I am not in the classroom. Yeah. So I do think that's what he meant. Why? Do you think there's something else? Maybe I
No,
need to think
when you
deeper.
first told me the story, I thought he was talking about you're not very good at helping me with my hyperactivity.
Oh, yes. So,
Yeah.
he didn't even think he was hyperactive. Like, he was just always super busy and moving. And for him, which I understand, like, I think as a kid, I'm sure I had the same thing. Like, but he didn't see that as a problem. That was my problem that I couldn't teach.
So it's funny, like I'm not hyperactive, but I have a lot of energy
Yeah.
and I do a lot, if it isn't
Yeah.
obvious, And
Yeah.
I never really thought about myself having a lot of energy. And then until pretty recently, and I asked my husband, do you think I have a lot of energy? And he said, duh.
Duh, of course you do. Right?
And I
Yeah.
have slowed down, and I slow myself down on purpose because I tend to do too much.
Oh, and then do you burn out?
Yeah, it's not good. I start feeling tired and resentful. And
Yeah.
so I have to schedule lots of
Yeah.
downtime.
I was
And what,
just gonna ask, like, do you set boundaries for yourself?
oh, yeah, if I'm
Yeah.
feeling down, I'll block out days.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I blocked out Thursday to go to the beach. The
Nice.
weather was beautiful, and
Oh, that sounds
so glad I
amazing.
did that because it was
Yeah.
beautiful. The weather was perfect. Um,
I
but
think I think we all need to do that. And I think as moms, tell me what you think too, but like as moms, I think there's very often no boundaries. There is no protection of our own time and our own energy because we feel we have to give it constantly to everyone. I know for me, it took me a long time to learn how to set boundaries like that.
oh yeah,
What do
me
you
too.
think?
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't have any. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to learn, and it's still a struggle sometimes
Yeah. I know.
to put your foot down. But it's interesting
Right?
you brought that up because I feel like individually, I will speak for myself that that's a life lesson is to
Agreed.
have really good boundaries, but I and stand up for myself. But I think on a
Yes.
collective level, let's just talk about the USA. That
Yes.
is their lesson too, is to just say enough is enough.
Yeah. Yes. And I think, there's such a, we're taught how to hustle. We are taught hustle culture. And I mean, just in my practice, seeing, moms, I do see moms and I see a lot of kids. Often the mom brings the kid in, and I'm looking at mom going, she is fried. Like, fried to the max. She's constantly in the car. She's constantly driving. She's kind of cooking, just doing this, just doing that, just doing that. I'm like, how many hours do you sleep? And often it's not enough, right? 5, 6
Yeah.
hours. I'm like, oh no, no. She's like, well, I mean, this, I say she, this is like almost every mom I see where it's like, oh no, because we get home, I get third dinner made after sports. I'm doing this, and I got to clean up, then I got to do laundry, and then like, oh man, like there's a
Yeah.
lot of, and I honestly see this leading to hormonal issues, thyroid, adrenal, the stress, the fatigue, the burnout, then we have weight gain, and then they're caught in this vicious loop, right? So,
Yeah, that's interesting because I just interviewed a doctor in Florida, Dr. Joseph Rosado. So he
yeah.
prescribes medical cannabis, and he says that the body creates its own cannabinoids,
Yeah.
endocannabinoids.
And
And if
cannabinoids.
you're under constant stress, your body stops producing them, and then here comes chronic illness.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like in my big, well, first of all, two things. So, first, with the endocannabinoid receptors, those are in our brain. I'm a huge fan of oil, an essential oil called copaiba.
Oh,
It's,
yeah, I know what
yeah,
that is.
yeah. Like in that, I think you can call it copaiba also, but I've always called it copaiba. Copaiba is from a tree, not from the marijuana bush. So it works on the endocannabinoid receptors, but it's not going to run any risk of it having THC in
Hmm.
it. So for anxiety, for stress, like you can do it if it's safe, like doTERRA's brand is safe to actually, I'll have patients put 2 drops under their tongue multiple times during the day just to help with that. Yeah. And then the second thing is talking about disease. In my viewpoint, disease 100% stems from inflammation, and that can be from our gut, that can be from our blood sugar being crazy and wacky, and we're causing oxidation, and it's like rusting from the inside, right? I mean, it's nasty stuff. So we
Yeah.
really have to be proactive. Yeah.
Like, pay attention. Food is really important. Our food is crap in the US. So,
Oh, yeah.
um,
Totally.
more organic, and then pay attention to how your body feels after you eat certain foods. Like,
Yes.
do you feel tired? Does your stomach hurt?
Yes.
Do you get constipated? Oh my
Yes.
God. Like, you get older, that gets a problem. So I
Yes.
can tell dairy is a big no-no for me.
Yeah.
Um, I can't drink milk,
How
it
do
gets.
you do? Sorry, I feel like I interrupted you. How do you do with like raw, like at a Whole Foods, I get raw grass fed cheddar, and I notice I'm pretty darn good with that versus regular. Because you're right, dairy can be such a huge trigger for gut issues.
And joint pain,
Yes,
like literally, it's terrible. Like the next morning I'm like, can't even
isn't it crazy?
move. And
You-
so I can eat like certain things. Like cheese is okay,
Yeah,
and good ice cream, like
yeah, without the
homemade
corn
stuff,
syrup.
not that crap in the grocery store,
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel my body feels better if I just avoid it.
Yes. No, same thing for me. It's corn. Corn. And I
Mm.
also I have celiac, so I do have to avoid wheat and gluten. But corn makes my joints hurt. It gives me mood swings. Like, It's
Well, it's corn. A
crazy.
lot of corn is GMO in this
Oh,
country.
yeah.
So
Oh
if
my
you're gonna
gosh.
eat it, it should be organic, which
100%.
is not easy to find, by the way.
No, it's not because I
Yeah.
think they say over, I might be making this number up. I know it's over 75. It might be over 90% is GMO. So that's like a huge, and really corn's not a high value, nutrient rich food anyways. So that's one of those things I tell people they should pretty much void too.
One of the places I found organic corn, we don't have Whole Foods around here, so
Yeah.
it's like 45 minutes away.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But Lidl does have like canned and frozen organic corn. Do you have Lidl up in
No.
Michigan? No. Okay.
No. But
Well,
and the thing with corn, because you're right, like if it's like the whole kernels and it's organic, that's way better. But like corn's so insidious. It's like in everything. It's, they call it soluble corn fiber and high fructose corn syrup and maltodextrin sometimes it's corn. Like, ugh, it's hard to
so
get away.
back to your son. He's
Yeah.
now 14. So how is he
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, so I'm super happy to report that all through middle school, now he's in his first year of high school, but he was a straight A student all through middle school. Now he just finished varsity tennis, straight A student, no accommodations at school, can get his work done on his own. And he regulates his own diet. He also regulates his own oils, like to sleep. Sometimes he'll use lavender and Roman chamomile, um, different blends. Like he knows what he needs. And that's the keys. I think when we educate our children and we teach them. So instead of just always saying, like, no, don't eat that. No, we're not going to do it. Educate them why. I think that's the biggest key to this because then they start to understand. And like you said, listen to how your body feels. Like I taught my children at a young age, okay, no, go ahead, drink that slushy at the movies with your friend and eat popcorn. And he ate my oldest, he ate something else, came home, literally looked like he had a hangover, was laying on the bathroom floor, like, oh my gosh. I'm like, hard life lesson, but how do you feel? Like, do you like the way that feels?
Plus, you
Maybe
know
that was
what?
a little severe.
They are stubborn. I will tell
They
you,
are
they,
stubborn. They have to
especially
have,
teenagers, you
yeah,
tell them and they act like you don't know what you're talking about. And my
I know.
oldest daughter, she can't drink milk. Milk gives her a stomach ache, and she knows that. Like we've pointed it out.
Yeah.
You drink milk, you get stomach aches, but she likes it so much
She's
that
addicted.
she continues to do it. And I said, and then she would complain. And I was like, you know that you
You know?
can't drink milk.
Yes. Like, I mean, it comes to a point, like, so here's the thing. Obviously, we want to start as early as possible. But like you're saying, a lot of kids, teenagers, maybe you didn't know. Like, obviously, I get patients every single day, and I'll tell them, like, listen, it's your choice. Like, I'm here to help you if you want to help, but otherwise, don't waste your parents' money. And it comes down to that because it's like you can't force them, even with obviously food, but supplements, any of it, oils, like, if they're not willing, you hit a point where then it's got to be them not wanting to feel crappy,
Yeah,
right?
and I think you get away with a lot more when you're younger.
They
But
don't see the consequence. Yes.
as you get older, well, you will pay the price if you don't pay
Yeah.
attention to
It
that.
catches up. I mean, maybe even using stories of other kids, like a lot, what I'll do is if they're not really open, I'll just say, oh my gosh. Like, here's an instance. I just had well, no. it'll take me way off. But anyways, the point being, when you relate stories and maybe start a discussion, maybe we can help get them to see. Because you're right, they're stubborn. They want to make their own decisions and they don't relate the consequences of 10 years down the road, right? And
Yeah.
infertility is such a huge issue. We're seeing such a huge spike in infertility. And I know it's related to food, you know?
Yeah. So one thing you didn't mention, but I do know
Yeah.
you cut out was the dyes.
Yes. So I forgot to mention that. Yes. The dyes, the food dyes. There was a oh shoot, what was the book? It's an old book. I think it was maybe from the 80s. Starts with an F. Feingold diet. That might be it. Check that out. But this medical doctor did all these studies. He would have kids eat food dyes, like processed food. First, he'd have them write without anything, and they're legible, everything looks great. And then they'd ingest something really processed with food dyes, chemicals. Literally, the writing for these young children turned into like scratch, like scribbles. So Feinstein, maybe it was Feinstein diet. Oh my gosh, well, somebody please Google that for yourself. Find that, find that diet. But anyways, taking out the food dyes, those are linked with neurotoxicity. And another big thing in our food that we have to pull out is MSG. It's monosodium
Oh,
glutamate.
yeah.
But a lot of times it'll even say like natural flavorings, and that's MSG. And there's, oh my gosh, like a huge thing, like we need to, for pregnant women, get them off foods with MSG. Breastfeeding women, you need to be off foods with MSG. But yeah, food dyes, any kind of preservatives, huge issues with the attention, with focus, with all that. Thank you, Tina. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, even my
Yeah.
own daughter, she would eat something with red food dye in it and get a headache. And
Really? Like
yeah,
instant?
yeah, and to this she tends to
Wow.
get headaches.
Yeah.
But I told her, I was like, every time she picks up something with red dye on it, I said, now you know that gives you a headache.
Yes. Right?
You know,
Don't
but
eat
she's
it.
like so drawn to like, especially if something's purple. Like she wants like purple
She wants,
food.
she's, that is hard because, like you said, teenagers. I wonder if there was a way you could like find a study or find some research and be like, and not like critical, just be like, oh my gosh, look at this research. More like a conversation, like we're equals. Like, my gosh, look at the research on this. What do you think? Like,
Yeah.
maybe
And
that might start a discussion at
the good
least.
news is we make a lot of our meals at home. So
Yeah, great.
my girls, they're used to really high quality food
Thank
and they've
goodness.
tried different things. And so when we go out to eat, or like now my daughter's in college and she's not thrilled with the dining hall food,
Yeah, yeah.
because once you've had really good food, you don't
Yes,
want
you
to
see the
compromise
difference.
anymore.
Totally. No, that's totally true. And here's something too for folks like on a budget, because I know the cost of groceries is astronomical and people are just really trying to get by and be as healthy as we can. So when we're looking at vegetables, obviously fresh, organic, that would be best. But frozen is great. It maintains the nutrient value. The only thing we want to avoid if we can is canned, because then we're losing the nutrients. But you can find frozen vegetables really reasonable. And if you can't get organic, doesn't matter. It's okay. Like we have to just look at things on a gradient. right?
Yeah, like I we have BJ's here and they have
Yeah,
these large frozen fruit bags. So whenever I
yeah,
find like organic fruit, I buy it, a huge
buy
bag of
it.
it. It
Yeah,
lasts a long time and then you just throw it in smoothies.
yes, yeah, and same at Costco. I just found it was like frozen roasted vegetables, like organic, and they were roasted in avocado oil. Like, that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
you can still do it on a budget. You just have to be really conscientious and prepare, right?
And just the fast food, you just
Oh, gosh.
gotta
Oh my gosh. Can I tell
stay
you a
away.
quick
Please
story?
stay far away, please.
Stay far away. I have a story for you. So back, this was a long time ago. I hadn't been in practice that long. So at least 15 years ago, I had this little girl. She had cancer in her arm, in the bone. She was maybe 8. And I said to the mother, tell me about like your diet. Like tell me. She goes, "Oh, it's really good." I'm like, "Awesome. Okay. Tell me more. Like tell me what are you doing?" She goes, "Well, we only eat McDonald's once a day now." They were
Oh,
eating McDonald's, first of all, more than once a day, but now once a day. Like that should be a never, right?
yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
never. And I thought, oh my goodness, this poor little girl, right? Like how much of her upbringing and the diet contributed to her health. Scary.
Yeah, and the problem is too, kids love that kind of food, and so they'll ask for it and ask for it and ask for it, and you
Yes.
have to say no. Like I took my kids to McDonald's when they were little, but they
Yeah.
won't touch that stuff now.
Which is great, right? Because they're
Yeah,
educated. Like there was just a huge thing about McDonald's potatoes. They only use this specific kind of potato because it's really long, but it's really prone to, obviously you can't have the dark spots and you can't have it have issues. So they spray it. I don't know if it was Roundup or glyphosate, but a specific, you know, herbicide or pesticide, insecticide, whatever it is. And that's what they're using on these potatoes. So every single McDonald's French fry is full of this, uh, right? Bah.
yeah. Well, I'm sure many of the listeners have seen that the McDonald's food doesn't even get moldy. It just
No, it
so
doesn't.
imagine what it does to your body. How does your body break that down? Can it break it down?
No, it's like glue. Listen to this. This is funny. At our office, we teach monthly classes. Now I do a lot of stuff on Zoom, but we used to do this class on nutrition. And one of the fellow doctors, had a McDonald's cheeseburger that was 5 years old, and he had it in the container, never molded. I
That is
was
just
like, how is
nasty.
this? He did that with a loaf of bread too. I'm like, this is messed up. Yeah, that's not real food.
Yeah. So, what are you up to now? Are you still practicing
Yeah.
chiropractor? Okay.
Yeah, so I do practice. I practice like 3 kind of half days. I've kind of decreased my hours. I do a lot with my doTERRA business, which I love because I can do it from my phone, like at home and on Zoom. So I'm really, really loving that. But I can't, like, I love my patients. So I do both because I love it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. So,
Well, Jennifer, I wanted to thank you for being on the show and
yeah,
sharing your experience with your son. There's so many kids that have ADD or ADHD, and they might be able to find some solutions
yeah,
on some of the suggestions that you made.
yeah.
So I know that you recommend doTERRA and standard process for
Yeah.
supplements.
Listen, it's totally, like, you and I have had conversations, like, I'm totally fine with if the company can show you the testing, the purity, the potency, or like for you in Egypt, like where they are coming from, then that's fine. But if in the States specifically, like if you can't see the testing, then that's an issue. So I'm happy to help people if they have questions, whatever. But and then supplements we carry at our practice, you have to have a license to distribute them because I need to know testing, purity, and all of that. But even like a really good health food store, I'm not a fan of the oils, but you can find reputable supplement companies. So that's fine also.
One of the companies I like for oils and
Yeah.
herbs and teas is Mountain Rose.
Oh, I've used them. I did used to use them
Yeah,
too.
so they're
Yeah.
in the US. I think they're in
Yeah.
the western side of the US, but
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
good quality items too. So,
Which is great. Yeah, like I said, if you can show me the testing and the purity, because over 85% are contaminated knowingly or unknowingly, right? Same
mhm.
thing with our food, same thing with our supplements. We just have to be very diligent with what we're putting on our bodies, in our bodies, and even like inhaling, like with the diffuser, like you just have to be really aware that that's going up into your brain. So please don't use Febreze and Glade plugins and
Oh my
toxic,
God. No, no, no,
neurotoxic
no.
stuff, right? Which I'm
Yeah.
sure your listeners don't, but it happens. So I'm just really honored that you had me on, and I love your mission and your purpose. And I'm just happy I can support you in getting the word out there.
Yeah, if you need like a spray, use oils, put it
Yes.
in a bottle
Yes.
or diffuse it. Don't use
Yeah.
any of that chemical
Don't
crap.
use
Oh,
that chemical crap.
terrible. That's why
I
we're
know.
all sick. We're
It
all like
is
our tox
100%.
our toxic loads, from all
Yes.
the chemicals, from all the chemicals in the food. So,
Oh, and
um,
if somebody finds me on Instagram, just reach out. But every Wednesday night, we do my whole team, we do a call all about, like you're saying, Tina, like toxic load and the burden on our bodies and just foundational nutrition just to set you up for the day, because even our food is void of the vitamins it should have because the soil's over processed. So anyways,
we'd have to do our best, but we do have
yes,
options.
we
There
do.
are
There's so many
options.
options. We've got
Yeah.
options. We just have to be educated to empower ourselves, right?
Yeah, and really just pay attention to how you feel after you eat is
Yes.
a big thing. I think a lot of people are numbing with food, and we
Yes.
don't want to do that. We want to be aware of what foods our body likes and
I
doesn't
agree.
like.
I
Yeah.
agree with that. We can't use food just because it comforts us or it feels good. We have to really change and that's all marketing. We were advertised that, but we need to just look at food as that's our fuel, that's our sustenance. That's not what we should be using as a vice or for comfort or to make us happy, you know?
Speaking of food, I'm about to go get my avocado toast on.
Woo! Yay! You enjoyed that. Thank you so much, Tina. I really had a great time.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Can you share real quick where people can find you?
Yeah, so I'm not super great on social media, but Instagram I'm on really often. So that one is food.to.the.rescue. Food to the rescue.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. And I'll have all your info in the notes if anybody wants to
great.
contact you with any questions about
Yeah,
oils, because she is an expert in essential oils, people. So
I'm happy to help.
reach out to her or supplements, or
Yeah.
if you're in Michigan, go get an adjustment.
Yes, in Michigan, come see me. We do tons with nutrition there. Yeah, thank you so much, Tina.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.